You're watching PEGRI TV, Rhode Island's public access channel.
Good evening, I'm Bill Mulholland, and welcome to Good Sports. Tonight's topic is the sport of sailboat racing, specifically the granddaddy of all ocean races, the 635-mile Newport-to-Bermuda race. My guest is Cumberland native and veteran sailboat racer Dave McLoughlin. Mac has captained his 40-foot CNC sailboat named Mutane in the 2004, 2006, 2007, and 2010 Newport-to-Bermuda races. In his 2004 inaugural race, his five-man crew achieved a third-place podium placement. In 2007, Mac competed in the single-handed solo race from Newport to Bermuda, and on the return to Newport, paired with Bob Kemp for a second-place finish in the double-handed event. Welcome to Good Sports, Mac.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Great to have you. Now, Mac, this is going to be the first time in our 33 years that Good Sports has featured sailboat racing. I'm looking for you to educate our viewers and then for us to live vicariously through your experiences and storytelling on the high seas. Sounds good?
Sounds good.
Excellent.
Sounds good.
So, Mac, you and I, along with our cameraman Dick Tierney, are 1971 St. Raphael Academy grads. So, why, when, and how did you get involved in sailboat racing, something Dick and I never even imagined?
When I came back to the Rhode Island area,
where were you?
I'd been out in the Midwest, Michigan, and then Boston and Washington, D.C. But when I came back here, I decided I always liked to be on water. I bought a house down in South County, Wickford, and started with let's start sailing. And so I ended up talking to a guy, and he had a Ranger 26 that he was getting a bigger boat and he wanted to sell. And so we started talking. I made him an offer. He accepted it. I had the boat surveyed, and the survey came back with a couple problems for the boat. And I went to him and said, I can't pay you this many thousand. So he knocked the price down by $2,000, and I bought it. Okay. And so I had the Ranger 26 for 5 or 6 years, and
now,
raced
David,
that.
What was the attraction, for sailing? What sort of enticed you to move in that direction? Because it's not an inexpensive sport.
Just to be out there on the water.
Really?
To be out there on the water, and then to challenge yourself to get better at it. Navigation-wise, back then we didn't have GPS and all these other things, so you had chucks, hand charts, and navigating from point to point and whatever else. And especially in something like the fog. When the fog hits, the hair on the back of your neck goes up because you can't see anything. Yeah. But that was the challenge of getting better at sailing. Okay. And I put the boat down in Dutch Harbor, off Jamestown.
What year were we talking about?
Oh, this would have been in the
mid-80s?
83, 84.
Okay.
And about 84, and I think I had it for 6 years. Dutch Harbor was a nice bunch of guys. We all got together. We'd sail on weekends. We'd have races on weekends. Then we'd go down to the Narragansett Cafe on Sunday afternoon, and they had music and things like that. And it was just a lot of fun. And then from that, I met other people, and they would be racing their boats and ask me to come and crew for them. And so I did that. I was crewing for a 30-foot boat up in Wickford on the Wednesday night series. And from there...
What did that entail?
The owner was a good friend of mine, but he was late 60s, and so he wanted me to drive the boat. And so I helmed the boat, and we ended up doing very well in the race. Okay. And from that, other people would invite me to come out and race on their boats, and so I get better and better.
Okay. Now, Mac, in 1992, you purchased a 38-foot CNC sailboat. How different was this boat from the 26-foot Ranger?
The Ranger was an outboard. You could basically not stand up. You could get down, and it had bunk and had galley and everything else, but it wasn't that luxurious. good sailing boat. It was fun to sail. Had a tiller. Going to the 38 was spacious. It would sleep 8 people, inside head, shower, full galley, hot and cold pressurized water. It had a wheel, inboard diesel, and just it was done. It had done a Bermuda race, so it was well constructed, and I knew that. So that's what enticed me to buy it.
Yeah. So how different was that from the Ranger as far as sailing is concerned?
Just the power in the boat. You know, you're talking about a boat with a lot more. The mast was much higher, a lot more sail area. So it was a very powerful boat. I used to take my brothers sailing, and what we'd do is we'd take a line off the back and put a long line, and as we're sailing along, I'd have them dive off and dive down, holding onto the line. And what happened is the boat sails away, and it takes up all the slack, and all of a sudden they fly out of the water.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
A little entertainment for you and the boys.
And then they had to pull themselves aboard because with the boat sailing away from them, and we found that getting much over 6.5 knots, just the water that coming at you, it was tough to get aboard. So we kept it down around 5 knots.
And kept it as when you were still younger too, right?
That's true.
Yeah. Now, Mac, in 1997, you purchased a damaged boat and personally rebuilt the whole boat within a year. How did that experience help you in the years to come with the Newport-to-Bermuda races?
The boat I bought, I knew it was damaged. It was holed on one side. In a no-name storm, which was 1991, it had gone on the rocks in East Greenwich. So it was holed on one side. The owner sold it or took the insurance money, and then he stripped the boat out. He sold off the engine, he sold off the winches, he sold off everything, the stove, anything that had value, he sold it off, and then took the insurance money. So when I saw it under the bridge in East Providence, it was basically just a hull. But I knew it had, the mast was there and the boom. So it had its spars.
What are spars?
Spars are the mast and the boom, which holds the bottom of the sail, comes off the mast.
Okay.
So those were in good shape. So with that, I started talking to the guy, and I had a TR6 sports car, Triumph TR6, and I asked him I was going to trade him the sports car for the boat, and he didn't want that. So I said, oh, fine. So I sold off the TR6, and I bought the boat as salvage, very, very inexpensively. And so it took me a full year. But the reason I bought it is because I knew where another boat had been come aground in Wickford years before and was holed on the other side. This boat was holed on the starboard side. The other boat had been holed on the port side, so its starboard side was in good shape, and I knew where that boat was up in the Davisville. So I went to see the owner of the salvage yard up there, and I asked him, I says, can I cut out a plug the side of that damaged boat? And so he says, $200. I said, but he says, you got to do the work. So I would crawl under that hull in the middle of February with my Sawzall, and I cut out a plug that I think was about 6 feet 7 inches in height and about 8 feet or about 9 feet wide. But I knew where I could hang that plug on this damaged boat. I used drywall screws to screw both the hull and the plug together. Then with my Sawzall, I cut both the hull and the plug on the edges, and then pushed the plug in to replace where the hole was.
When did you learn how to do all that, or was this the do-it-yourself? I'm gonna make my mistakes and go from there.
Learn by doing.
Wow, good.
And
for you,
when you're doing a project like this, and I tell people, I says, look, if you make a mistake, you got to grind it out and redo it. And I made mistakes. We grind it out or cut it out or whatever, and just to redo it. Yeah. But you learn as you go. Bow owners, and my neighbor's son, I got him into sailboats, and he wasn't that mechanical, but he's learned quite a bit in a few years he's had the boat. And you've got to.
Yeah. And so, how did that experience for you to go over and rebuild a boat had to help you when you were doing the 635-mile Newport-to-Bermuda races, correct? If something went wrong, you knew how to go over and take care of it?
In redoing that boat, you had to know all the systems, electrical systems, mechanical systems, steering, the engine, all these things you had to learn and know. And when you do offshore racing, like the Newport-Bermuda race, you have to know your boat. You have to know all your systems, electrical, mechanical, whatever else. I was helping Bob Kemp take his boat last year in the fall down south, and coming across Long Island Bay, we're sailing along at night, auto helms on, and there's three of us sailing down, and all of a sudden the electricity went off. There goes the auto helm. So I had to grab the wheel quickly, and all of our lights are off now because of the electrical.
Yeah.
And luckily Bob is very accomplished. He got about 20 minutes, found out what the problem was, and got his electricity. But these are things you have to do and you have to know.
Yeah. Well, and you showed us prior to the show today what you actually did from what the boat looked like and step by step. A really impressive way to go over and do that. But the masts were fine, correct?
Masts were fine. I had lists upon lists. I had lists of things I had to get. I had to buy winches. I had to buy backstay adjusters. These are things I had to buy an engine. I had list upon lists, and I would work. When I got home from work at 4 o'clock in the afternoon on nice days, I'd go out and do something. But all weekend, I'd work on the boat, and it took me a full year.
So was the boat in your backyard?
No, I live right across the street from the marina in
Okay.
Wickford. It was Brewers Marina back then. So it was in the general manager was a friend of mine, put it in back, and it was out of everybody's way. And so I got to just walk across the street and work on the boat.
Yeah. Now, how about the sails? Talk to me about the sails.
I bought new sails. I was into that boat for about total, buying it and fixing it and new sails and everything else. I was in for about $13,000.
Okay.
I raced that boat for 6 years, won quite a few races with it, and she was a pretty boat. She was my Mona Lisa. And I ended up selling it to an attorney from Canada for 40 grand.
Good investment there, Dave. Good return on investment, right?
I was asking 45. She says, after she saw the boat, her husband went away, and she came back and she says, "Would you take 40,000 in this bottle of scotch?" It was good scotch.
I bet it was. Now, Mac, in 2002, you purchased a 40-foot CNC sailboat that you raced in the Newport-To-Bermuda events. What attracted you to this type of sailboat and also the race?
The CNC is a good model. It's well made, and it's ocean worthy. This boat, I had seen a sister to this boat at a race out in Block Island a couple of years before, and the owner had me downstairs for a beer, and I was just impressed with how spacious it felt and how open it was. It had a V berth, which sleeps two. Then it had your salon, which flips down into a double. It slept 8. It had an aft cabin, which had a queen-size aft cabin, full galley, full nav station. The head had an indoor shower. It was well laid out. Then knowing CNC, being solid, it was a good boat.
Yeah. So we've got a photo coming up of the front deck of the boat. So what are we looking at as we're looking at this photo, Dave?
The photo.
Yes.
The front deck. The front deck.
Of the boat, yes. So what would we be looking at, when we see it post-editing?
At the front deck, you're looking at the front stay, which has the head sail, and that's on a roller furling. So when you want to sail, you just pull it out, and when you want to shorten sail, you can just pull a line and it rolls it up. So you could take the sail completely down or in, or as the weather builds, you shorten sail and you just pull it and roll it up.
So is it all manual as far as the sail?
On this, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now we've got a photo coming up now of the steering wheel and the autopilot. Explain that. What are we looking at?
The autopilot is below deck on this yacht, which was very nice because it was very quiet. And there's a ramrod that ties into the quadrant, which controls the rudder. So when you put a course in, or you're doing a course, and you hit auto, that autopilot will steer that course automatically.
Really?
Yeah, and you have 3 settings. You have one setting which uses least power, but it allows the boat to sort of wary from on courses and direct. The second, the course a straighter course, and the third keeps it right on course. But the third also uses more power than the first setting. Now, one of the things when you're offshore racing is you have to be concerned about your battery power. You have an engine, and you're allowed to use an engine to recharge your batteries, but you're not allowed to use your engine for propulsion. In other words, you can't have it to help you go faster.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
and an extra story on that.
Sure.
One night I was off watch, and I was taking a nap, and it came time for them to charge, and I heard the engine start and whatever else, and so then for some reason I got up, and but some things didn't feel right. So I got up and I went out and I looked at the speedo, and we're doing like 2 knots, and I was like, what the hell's going on here? And I go, and when we're sailing along, we put our transmission into reverse. I have what they call as a feathering prop. So what happens is the prop, the blades turn to go into the water and not have any resistance.
Okay.
So in that by putting it into reverse, it feathers into that. Well, when they started the engine, they hadn't put it into neutral. So we're going along charging with the engine on, and the prop is going in reverse. So it's holding us back.
Sure.
So, yeah,
Absolutely.
So we fixed it.
Yeah, and so the autopilot, so you put it on autopilot, now you've got a gust of wind or something else coming up. Does it automatically go over and compensate for that?
Yes, it does. One of the problems you have, and I had it when I was doing the single-handed race, is when the auto helm gets overwhelmed by the strength of the wind, you'll start to hear beep, 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 which means it can't hold it.
Okay, help me, right?
Yeah, help me. One time, I was going forward at night, and we have jack lines. So you put
What's
your
a jack
harness.
line?
A jack line goes from the stern to your bow on both sides.
Yeah.
And so if you have to go forward, you have a harness on, and you put your lanyard, hitch onto the jack line. So if you go overboard, it holds you close to the yacht. Whether you can come aboard, sometimes you can, but most of the times it's. But one night I was going forward because the wind was coming up, and seemed to be a problem on the bow. So I'm going forward by hands and knees. The boat's heeled over, and I'm on jack line. And all of a sudden, I hear the auto helm start going beep, 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 beep. Yes. So rushing back.
Yeah.
So it was
Now, Mac, how long did it take you to become educated enough in order to captain your 40-foot sailboat? And what is the role of a boat captain in the Newport-to-Bermuda race?
Well, I'd been sailing for 20 years. I'd been racing a lot. I've been racing on a lot of other people's boats with good sailors. I learned a lot. I'd taken navigation courses and everything else. So I had 20 years experience. To be a captain, you've got to first have good sailing technique and be able to direct your crew. Then you have to pick a crew that you feel you can work with. I mean, when you're 5 days on and off watch with 4 or 5 other guys, they've got to get along. Especially at night when a storm, a squall comes in, and you go from 15 knots of wind to 40 knots of wind. It's it gets
a little hairy, right?
Hairy.
Absolutely, yes.
And then you have to know your boat. Luckily, I had the experience over the 20 years of learning different boats and learning different sailing.
Yeah. Now, does the Coast Guard need to go over and have you certified as a boat captain, or do you need to take the courses through that?
I had a 25-ton Coast Guard captain's license.
Oh, how much does your routine weigh?
She goes off at 18,000 pounds dry.
Oh.
So then when you put fuel on, water, and you're running at around 20,000 pounds.
Okay.
The keel on this thing draws 7.5 feet going down. So.
Yeah. So we've got a photo coming up of you at the helm there. So what are we looking at?
I think that's going into Bermuda, and you can see the boat's heeled over. I've positioned myself, so I've got my solid. But the boat's heeled over, and she's sailing on her lines. You don't want to put too much. You don't want too much heel on you as you're sailing, because the more hull you put in the water, there's more friction, and the friction slows you down. It's resistance. So what you want to do is try and go on your lines, and on the lines for a routine is about a 15 degree heel. So when she's over about 15, 17, in that range, she's on her lines. If you get into 2022, she's overpowered. What you have to do is you have to drop the main down, and it allows the boat to come back up a little.
Okay, and we've got another photo coming up of you at the helm again, but with big waves right behind you. Yeah,
that's I'm not sure which. That was one of the return trips, and I think the return trip for the 06, and that was probably 18 to 22 knot winds causing that. Yeah. And
how much of a workout is it? I mean, we see it. Is it how big is it? You know, it's circular, of course. and I see it like this.
My wheel's six feet in diameter.
Okay.
6 feet wide.
I was surprised at that when I first saw it.
No, so and the reason is I can sit on the side, on a high side, and steer and hold the wheel because it's that wide.
Yeah.
You know, so.
But it's a workout, I would think, right? In the high seas, right?
In high seas.
You're fighting it, right?
In high seas, but you know, when you're racing the Bermuda race, you're not allowed to use the auto helm most of the time. So basically, you've got somebody driving, and when the wind picks up, it can be a challenge.
Okay. Now, Mac, in 2003, you decided to enter routine in the 2004 Newport-To-Bermuda race. So what preparations were entailed in order for the boat to compete in the race? And it's pretty extensive, right?
Massive. The checklist, and you have to have inspection by one of their inspectors from the race. And I had this woman. She was a very accomplished sailor. I had her for all three races for the crude race. She inspected routine, so she knew routine. But they come in and they go over everything, all your systems, your life vests, your pumps, bilge pumps. You have to have be able to pump water egress out from below deck and on top and above deck. So you have to have 2 hand pumps to be able to get the water out. You have to have communication. In the 04 race, you need to have a single sideband, which is a shortwave radio.
Okay.
That had to be on a board. You had to have a license. You had to know how to operate the single sideband. You had to buy it. Prepping for the 2004 race cost me, the whole race cost me $24,000. That was prepping it. That was an entry fee. That was buying things like gifts for the crew.
Yeah.
Crew dinner. When we get to Bermuda, you got to take the crew out with their wives.
That's your role as captain,
Yeah,
right?
yep,
okay.
yep. And
now, are you paying the crew, or is this volunteer? How does that work?
Volunteer, mostly.
Okay.
I had a need. The guy that was supposed to be my navigator in 2004, his mother died in New York, so he couldn't do the race. So at the last minute, I had to contact a guy I knew who was a good ocean sailor. And
who was that?
Dan Twigg.
Okay.
He's up from Situate, Mass. And so he agreed to do it. But he said, "But Mac," he says, you got to pay for my flight back. He says, "I'll race down with you and this that, but you got to pay for the flight back."
Okay.
So so I mean, another cost. But
now, how about practicing? I know before the show you had talked about you practice night racing and also man overboard drills. So.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
You've got to take your crew out, and you got to know they can sail at night. Night especially when it's cloudy and there's at night we run with red lights. If you use white lights, it kills your night vision. So I have the boat with all set up with red lights down below.
Yeah. Why does white lights go over and kill your vision?
It's just like when you're driving a car and somebody's high beams hit you. It hurts your vision.
Okay.
Same thing sailing a boat.
Got it.
White lights. Red lights you can see fine and everything else. So I have red lights. I have red lights in the cockpit so that if we have lines on the deck, people can see them. I don't want people tripping over something and going overboard in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
So, but a lot of preparation for the yacht, and then night sailing. And then the big thing is you want to do man overboard drills. You want to do them during the day, you want to do them during the night. Right. And basically people have to know how to do it. First of all, somebody has to stay on the helm, but somebody also has to stay pointing to the person who's man overboard. And that's their job. Point to the guy and keep him in view. Somebody else has to get the engine started. Then the other people have to work on, let's take the sails in as best we can, let's get around to get back to them. So what we would do is I would take a buoy, a life buoy or something like that, and I throw it overboard at the middle of the night, not telling anybody. We just man overboard. Yeah. And then they have to react. I'd go to take the helm, but I made sure whoever saw it first was the guy that kept point. And I wanted him to point so everybody can see where the guy is overboard. Yeah.
Now, do you have large lights that would be able to?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I have spotlights that plug into electric plugs I have in the cockpit.
All right. So now the race normally takes about 5 days to get there with a full crew, right? Somewhere around
for
there?
my boat, 100 hours.
Okay.
And what we have, different boats have what they call polars. A polar is chart that says how fast your boat should go at certain wind speeds at certain directions. Okay, and bigger boats of various sizes have various speeds. larger boats have a larger water line. They can go faster through the water than a smaller boat. That's why in the Bermuda race they have, I think, 13 classifications, different classes, and because some boats are faster than the others.
Sure.
So.
All right, and so now, my point with asking that question is that you're going 24 hours,
Yeah.
right? So you're going at night, so you got to be able to sleep. And you said before the show, there's something about called a dead man watch. So how do you go over and train for that, and what's the rotation? How does that work?
The dead man watch is usually from midnight till 3, and those are the tough hours. And so what I would do is I would have a watch schedule, and I have 2 crews, two watches, and I would do 4 hours during the day, 4-hour watch. So 3 guys would be on and the other guys would be down. They're not responsible for driving the boat during the day, 4 hours. And at night, at 6 o'clock, I would go into 3-hour watches. And we do that from the 6 to 9, 9 to midnight, midnight to 3. But by doing that, you stagger the watches, so the same watch crew does not get the midnight to 3 o'clock. The next time they come up, it'll be 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock.
Makes sense.
2 o'clock. So basically, you stagger it, and so you get people out of the.
And so when you're up on deck, you're at the helm, and then when you're down below with your 2 other crew member, you have one other person who is sailing it. So are there only 2 people at the helm
There's usually 3. There's usually 3.
Okay.
3. As captain, I had crew of 5, so there was 6 on board, and so the watch was 3 and 3. Normally, my navigator would be on the other watch, and so he'd be down below, looking at boat speed, wind conditions, and everything else, while 2 people are up top, one on the helm and one just trimming.
Okay. Now, Mac, the race begins on the 3rd Friday of June. Describe the preparations and festivities in Newport leading up to race day, and then the start of the race in 2004.
New York Yacht Club has a lot of parties before, cookouts and things like that for crew, and gala events, a lot of fun. And I took the boat over to Newport Yacht Club, which I'm a member, and I had it there for 2 days, 3 days, and then had the people bring their gear. My crew bring their gear on and whatever else, and we just prepared for the race, checking the sails, checking the bottom, clean, making sure we had enough water, enough fuel, all the little details you have to do. It's amazing.
Okay. And so now the start of the race, they don't put a line across the way to keep everyone back. How does that work?
When you start the race, first of all, when you go out.
How many in your class?
There was 13 in my class.
Okay.
And you know what your start position is going to be by your class number, and it's a rolling start. So they 10 minutes, and what they have is they had a starting line off of Castle Hill, and they have a box. And the box is with buoys, and it's probably 50 yards back from the starting line, and across the starting line is probably 300 yards wide, so 300. And your yacht is not allowed to be in that box until 10 minutes before you start. I'm sorry, 5 minutes before you start, because the other class is starting, so they don't want it to get too crowded. So you've got to stay out of the box until the other class goes off, and then you can come into the box. And then you're 5 minutes to the start. So what you've got to do is you've got to jockey around. Sailboats, starboard boat, a boat on starboard tack has right of way over port tack. So on a start,
starboard is your right side, port
side.
Is the left side.
So if
right?
your wind's coming over your right side, that you're on starboard tack, and somebody on port tack has to give you right of way. So when you're starting, you want to make sure you're on starboard tack so you can do this.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of jockeying around, and then you've got a stopwatch or a time watch, and your crew, somebody is calling countdown. 30 seconds, 25 seconds, 5 seconds, and you're looking at it, and you're telling, as captain, you're telling your crew, ease the sails, slow me down. And then at some point, you've got a guy on the bow, and he's saying, time to go. I tell them, trim hard. And we come up. So we run our lines, and we hit the start line at maximum speed.
Yeah. Now, Mac, the 2004 race starts, and you immediately have a major problem.
We had a boat come under us. It was a big swan, expensive yacht, 48-footer, and he came up quickly, and I had to jerk the wheel, to miss him, as such, and in that we broke one of our cables in our steering.
Your first race, right, with the crew. All right, what's going through your mind?
Well, one of the guys saying, we better go back to the yard. We better go back to the boatyard. I said, after all I went through, get ready. We're not doing that.
Yeah.
So I have emergency tiller. We got the emergency tiller out, and we kept the boat going. And Twig and myself, we just took the cables off, threw the pedestal, and I had extra cables, and we fashioned and replaced the broken cable.
Okay.
Unfortunately, when we did it the first time, we didn't cross, and your pedestal going down, you've got to cross the cables before it gets to the quadrant. So when we had done the fix, I got on the helm, and I took the helm and I turned the helm to go right, and the boat went left.
Okay.
So I says, oh.
Not
and
right?
Then I realized, and I says, no. And somebody said, you want to leave it that way? I said, no, we can't go to Bermuda, 635 miles.
Yeah.
So we had to take it apart, and it took us about 25 minutes to do the fix.
Now you're in last place now, right? Everyone is long gone, hard to find?
We're last place in the whole race, last boat in the race. We're down, and
Okay.
so we got back on the helm, fixed it, and got back racing.
Good. Now, Mac, we have a photo of one of your crew on the top of the mast determining the wind direction. Explain what we're viewing.
We hit light winds in that race, and I think it was Sunday, and we were almost becalmed. So what I said to the crew is, okay, we're gonna sail to the wind. So I put a guy up the mast, and his job was to point and yell where he saw wind. You see wind by ripples on the water.
How's he get up to the mast?
We take a halyard. Halyard is what you use to raise sails up and down.
Yeah.
And we have a seat that he sits in and hooks on to the halyard, and we hoist him up.
Oh.
So he's up there,
Okay, yeah.
and he's holding on to the mast, and he's pointing to wind. And by doing that, we're able to keep the boat going. It was slow, but it's better than being becalmed and not going at all. And I think that's really what got us a podium finish, and the fact that we kept the boat going. It was like that for 7 or 8 hours of really light winds.
Okay.
And
And talk about your sails. Now, we've got some photos of your sails on routine.
Interesting, my sails. Interesting story. Some friends went out to Castle Hill, the light, to watch the start of the race. And so we're starting the race, and my wife's there with these friends and one girlfriend of one of the guys on the boat. And somebody made comment about my mainsail was a dark color. It was a Pentax material, it was gray. And so somebody said, "Oh, those sails back sails look great." And this girl piped up and says, "Oh yeah, well, he bought them for the race." And my wife says, "He what?" And so but first, when I met her down in Bermuda, she came up and she gave me a big hug and kissed. And I stood back and said, "You bought sails?"
And so what type of sails do you have? So
And on that race,
how many sails are on your boat?
I will take the main. It was a Pentax, and then the head sail was carbon, a black carbon sail, and I'll have probably another 2 sails for the head sail of varying sizes. And then I also have a storm sail in case we get into a storm, and that has an orange top in case something happens to the boat, people can see the boat.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, Mac, it's your first competition in the Newport-Bermuda race. So tell our Good Sports audience about you and your crew's experience at sea and then arriving in Bermuda. So you start the race, you resolve the problem, and then now what's happening?
We're sailing along. We had some light winds. The first night out was interesting. You got the whole fleet going through the shipping lines, the New York shipping lines. And the first night is always very cold. I tell people bring a wool watch cap and a good sized jacket. But we're going through, and all of a sudden, Twig calls me and says, "Matt, come look at this." And I went down, and on the radar screen, the whole corner had a contact, and the contact was massive. So we heard on the radio, on Channel 16, which is the emergency, we hear all these boats calling for this contact. Who is it? What is it? And the contact, finally somebody came back and said, "Racing fleet, We have you all painted on our radar, and we will avoid you so continue on your courses. But they never said who they are.
Why?
It was a Navy ship. The Navy never discloses the name of the ship. And it happened to me one time coming back. We were off in Nantucket, 60 miles off Nantucket, and there was a guided missile cruiser out there going along, and I went off about a mile off the stern, and they contacted me. They said, "Sailboat on our stern. You were within our avoidance. You're 2 miles. You're supposed to be off them. I was a mile off."
Yeah.
So
how fast? So now you've got a good night, right?
Yep.
You've got a good wind going, not high seas. How fast are you going, Matt?
probably about eight knots, 8.5 knots.
Yeah.
A knot is 1.13 of a mile per hour. So not a little faster. One of the biggest things in the Bermuda race is the Gulf Stream. You've got to navigate the Gulf Stream, and you've got to find where you want to hit the Gulf Stream, because the Gulf Stream is flowing from south to north, and at different rates. And inside the Gulf Stream, they also have currents, circular currents. If you get into a whirlpool, and these currents, these circular are miles wide, if you get into one and you're sailing into it, on the side where it's coming at you, it slows you down. So you've got to try and navigate to get into the current that's circling on the side that's going to boost your speed.
So there's an art to that then, right?
That's the navigators.
And this is your first time out with the ocean race where you're captaining the boat.
Yep.
Did you ever crew one, the Newport-To-Bermuda?
No, I hadn't done that.
So this is your first experience ever?
Yeah, but what you do is you can go online on the internet, and you look at the Gulf Stream for weeks before, and you see where it's meandering. The Gulf Stream also doesn't stay in the same place. It meanders, it changes. So you look and study the Gulf Stream to where it's meandering, and look at where the eddies are, that's swirling with water, and you try and estimate, okay, I'm going to be there at this time. Where's that eddy going to be, and where do I want to cross the Gulf Stream? Now, when you're getting to the Gulf Stream, you're sailing there in the daylight, you can see it. There's clouds over the Gulf Stream, just because the Gulf water is so much warmer than the ocean around it.
Yeah.
And that's really how you can tell when you hit the Gulf Stream. We have a thermometer, and we drag in the water, and it reads up and tells us when the water starts going to 68, 70, 72, 74 degrees. When you're in the center of the Gulf Stream, you're usually about 74 to 76 degrees in the warmth of the water.
Okay.
And
how about cooking? So now you've got, it's going to take you 4 to 5 days to get there. You've got to have someone go over and get your meals, because you've got to stay strong in the rest. How important is a good cook?
One guy on the crew is designated as the cook, Bruce Campbell. And Bruce he was a treasurer for Governor Carcieri's campaign. Very astute, and he loves to cook. And so he prepared a meal that was outstanding. Most boats don't allow alcohol when you're at sea, but I allowed wine because my crew is mature guys. Okay. And so every night, Bruce would do a tremendous dinner, and the crew that was off watch would have their dinner, the 3 down, and then they'd go up and let the people that were sailing the boat come down, have dinner, have a little wine or whatever else. Bruce also did every afternoon at 4, he had appetizers. We had some of the sardines, and olives, cheeses. And we ended up getting a podium finish, and the crew elected Bruce as the MVP.
Good. All right. And so how do you sleep?
We sleep in watches, as I say.
Yeah.
And the big thing is when you're racing.
But how do you get to sleep? I mean, you've got to know, in another 3 or 4 hours, you've got to rock and roll, brother.
You've got to go down, and first of all, when you go down, if you're going through a squall or something like that, you've got all foul weather gear on. Yeah. You've got to strip out of your foul weather gear and this and that, and you've got to get down and you've got to sleep. And it's important that you don't waste time and get into sleep as early as possible, as best possible.
All right. And now sunsets. So you're out in the ocean, and the sunsets must be spectacular, but you told me about some type of phenomenon out there that you don't see too often.
It's at sea, and you can't see it in many places there, unless sea, and clear nights. And as the sun is setting, and I've only seen it 3 times, twice on ocean races, and once I was on the ferry from Key West up to Fort Myers. It's called the green flash. And it's instantaneous. Just before the sun disappears into the horizon, you'll see this brilliant green flash, emerald green.
Really?
Yeah, and it's good luck if you see it. Now, in all the sailors I know, I'm going to say probably only 20% have seen it.
Okay.
So,
and have you seen it?
I've seen it 3 times.
Wow, good for you.
times.
All the time when you're out in the ocean?
Yeah, two ocean races and one time on a ferry coming out of Key West
Okay.
as the sun sets.
All right, and
Now another thing is
sure.
interesting.
Go ahead.
You ask about when you're out there.
Yeah.
You see interesting animals. One of the things is a lot of times you see dolphin, and the boat's heeled over. And if you go to the
Heeled
low
over
side,
means that it's
tilted.
almost on its side,
It's
right?
tilted. It's
Okay,
it's
got
tilted.
it.
If you go to the low side, and the low side is closest to the ocean, the water, and if you clap, when you see if you clap,
Yeah.
the dolphins will come up right next to you and swim along with you.
Really?
Yeah.
How cool is that?
It is.
Huh?
It's very cool.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
All right. So now you've caught up with most of it. So when you're passing one of your boats, so there's tons of other boats out there, right? Yeah. So do you know which boats you're in competition with?
Yeah, you've got a list. You've got the list of all the different classes, all the boats in the race. So when you see a boat from their sail numbers or in this sail, you'll know if that boat's in your class. The other thing is boats have a flag on their back wires,
Yeah.
shrouds, which is their class designation. So if you're in class 3, you've got a flag 3, number 3. Yeah, we were going. We were probably about 50 miles outside of Bermuda, and I was down off watch. So I was lying down, and it was just breaking daylight, and Twig comes down, and he says, "Mac," he says, the 41, I forgot the name of the boat, 41 coming down on us, and we had spinnaker up, and he wants to go over the top for us. Well, if he goes over the top of us, he's going to take our wind and slow us down. So Twig says, "What do you want to do?" I says, "Twig, it's a race." He smiled, he says, "I knew you'd say that." So what we did is we came up in such a way that he couldn't get over the top of us, and he had to take our stern. And so now when he goes under us, we're taking his wind and slow him down. He was in another class, but again, we're racing.
Right.
So.
Well, it's that baseball and football from St. Raphael Academy that we both played together there.
Yeah.
That keeps that competitive. All right. So now you're 20 miles away, right? You're in Bermuda waters. How do you know where you are? And you're still racing to get there? And did you pass someone, or were you already in third, or did someone pass you? What happened at the end?
No, we kept going we kept going hard. As a matter of fact, about 25 miles out, we had heavy winds, and the boat was really on its side, heeled over. But there was a boat in front of us, a J42, I think, which is a fast boat, and we were catching up to him. And so one of the guys on the crew said, let's flatten the boat out. I said, no. I said, we're going too fast. I don't want to change anything. So we stayed on our ear going into Bermuda, but we were fast, and we ended up passing a couple boats that I think played well for us.
Yeah. Now, Mac, what did it mean to you and your crew to finish on the podium in third place in your very first Newport-Bermuda race?
It's an amazing feeling.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
You didn't know that once you finished the the finish line, right?
You didn't know till we kept the boat at the Royal Bermuda Yacht Club.
Yeah.
And until we went up to the desk, we didn't know where we placed or whatever else. And then I'm seeing this, and I'm saying third, and I'm saying, are there any other boats out there that can catch us? And there weren't. And then people started coming up to me, all the guys I know. Hey, Mac! Wow!
Wow! Right,
yeah.
Rookie, huh?
Yeah. So it was.
How cool was that?
Yeah.
And so now we've got a photo coming up of you traditionally dressed with your wife. So tell me about that.
The Saturday night after the finish, most yachts are finishing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and so Saturday night, all the captains are invited with 2 guests. It's normally the navigator and 1 other guest, 3, and you go to the Governor of Bermuda's estate, which is a castle, and they have a tremendous party and presentation. Everybody gets their plaques, and that's my wife Debbie and I at the castle and you have your Bermuda shorts on and your high socks and everything else.
Yeah, and then we've got the other photo coming up with you and the who's the person from Bermuda? Was it? It's not the king or whatever.
He's the governor.
Governor. Okay.
He is a lord. He's a British lord, and he is given a commission as a governor of Bermuda for so many years.
Yeah.
And so that was the photo was with him, and also I believe the Commodore of the Royal Bermuda Yacht Club.
Yeah, and we also have the actual plaque copy of that. So it's really some type of medal, I would think, right? That's
medal in a plaque.
And so where do you have that now?
I've got a wall in my living room. Hanging on the wall, I have picture of getting presented the medal, along with the medal, along with this this hull, the hull. Yeah. And we also have a plate that commemorates the 2004 Bermuda race.
Cool. Now, Mac, tell us about your harrowing nighttime sailing experience on the way back to Newport from Bermuda. Now, the race is just to Bermuda, and then on the way back, at least with a full crew, you're just leisurely going. You just want to get home safely at that point.
That
in time,
and
correct?
most anybody that's got a podium, the yacht stays around till Sunday, but Sunday morning, a lot of yachts are leaving to sail back. And so basically, you just get your crew, and a lot of your race crew has flown home, and you have to get delivery crews. So I had gone around and asked people, we want to sail back from Bermuda back, and I got a crew of I think it was 5 guys,
yeah.
And to sail back with me. And so we're going to sail back. And one guy was Dr. Tom Payne, who was a cardiologist, and his son. He wanted to have he sailed. His son sailed, but they'd never been on an ocean race or really. I wanted to do some bonding, I guess. So they were on my delivery crew coming back. So we took off out of Bermuda, and the boats that were left on Saturday supposedly were going to get hit by a gale, and we said, no, this is great. We're going to go on Sunday. The gale's going to be in front of us, so go past us. We got out there on Sunday. What happened is the weather had turned. The gale had turned. And it basically came right over the top of us Sunday.
What does that mean?
The winds stoked the seas to the winds were about 30 knots, and they stoked the seas to 15, 18 feet.
Whoa!
So that was
at night.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but that wasn't bad. Now we had a group, 9 yachts coming back, and we had a comm schedule that at 0600, 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. we'd come on the radio, a certain channel, and we'd all give our position and have anything with problems we'd discuss. And we had one boat that had a weather fax aboard. Now in 04 you didn't have a lot of satellite phones back then, but this one boat, a Swan 48, had a weather fax. So they'd get the weather forecast, and she'd come on and give us the forecast for. So one night after the first gale went by, the girl comes up and she's given and says the second gale. I says break. This is Rutain. What second gale? And the girl comes back and says Rutain. There's a second gale forming over Hatteras. It's going to come over the top of us. Now the seas are still running 15, 18 feet. So that was at night, and or in the morning. So at 6 p.m. at night, we get on our comm schedule, and one of the other boats, the guy was a commodore of one of the cruising clubs, he comes on, he says, break, Rutain. We gave our positions. He says, Rutain, where you going? I says, break, this is Rutain. I'm going to Paris. I turned and went straight east because I wanted the gale to go behind me.
Yeah.
So that night, all night, I had 43 knots across the deck.
How fast is that in miles per hour?
43 knots is about 48, 50 miles an hour winds.
Whoa.
All night.
Yeah.
The seas were 25 to 30 feet. I've got a 40-foot boat, and I'm coming down a 60-foot wall of water.
Can you see the waves?
You've got to feel them. It was because in a storm like that, it's just clouds, so it's pitch black, and you can't come straight down a wave, because what you do is you'll bury the bow in the trough before you come up the other side. So you've got to come down at an angle. and so I stayed on the wheel. I kept everybody down below. Brad, my nephew, who'd done 3 races with me, he would come up and he'd take over for about 20 minutes. I'd lay down in the cockpit and just try and nap if I could. Miserable night.
Yeah.
And so.
Your worst experience ever?
Yeah, we were lucky. We were lucky that we got our sails down, and I only had like a handkerchief of a sail, so there wasn't much of a sail on a head stay. So we were doing 10, 11, 12 knots with just a a handkerchief up, and a terrible night. So the next morning, we made it through the night, and we have our comm schedule. And so
what's the comm schedule?
Comm schedule means all the boats come on their radios at the same time, and we can talk.
Got it.
And so, listening to one of the boats the one that asked me where are you going, I went east, and I had 43 across the deck all night. He had 53. So being inside, he had that much more wind. So by us going out, we missed some of the storm a little bit.
At least a safer route, right?
Yeah, safer route, but tough night. Yeah. And then when we got up to the Gulf Stream, the waves were still 15, 18 feet. We got in a pod of dolphins, and a pod of dolphins start swimming with us. But they're coming out of the waves like rockets.
No way.
Missiles, yeah.
How cool was that?
They were flying through the air.
Yeah?
It was amazing. It was amazing, yeah.
Absolutely. Dave, we got about 8 minutes left, so we're going to move on to vicariously living through you. So I'm going to give you a subject, and you tell a story.
Okay.
All right, so you're 300 miles out, going to Bermuda. You're racing. Everything's going really well. It's a clear night. You look up into the sky. The stars must be unbelievable. Is it?
Tremendous. Bob Shore was a captain for American Airlines, chief pilot. And one night he did a race, I think 2010, and he says, "Mac, look over there. See that?" He says, "That's the space station, right amongst the stars." He knew where it was. It was blinking. He says, "That's the space station," and the whole sky is filled with stars, and he picked it out just like that.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Yeah. How about this? So now it's night. It's dark, but it's a clear night. How about sounds? Are there any sounds other than
just the boat? The boat go
just
through
the boat,
go through the water. Now, one interesting was it wasn't a clear night. One night we were racing, and a squall came in, and so I had taken down our head sail a bit, and we put up a smaller sail. So what we did is the head sail is carbon fiber. It's black. And we take it down and we tie it to the lifelines on deck, on the forward deck. So I'm driving along, and it's pitch black, and I thought I saw some movement on the forward deck. So I said, "Brad, go forward. I think the sail's coming up. Take the sail tie, make sure it's tied down. You don't want it to go overboard. No, not when you're racing, not any time." So Brad hangs onto the jack lines, and he crawls up, and it's humid, it's raining, and he says, "No, it's just so he." It was coming undone. It was going overboard. So he pulled it back in, and he ties it down, and he crawls back, and he gets in the cockpit, and he just plops down the cockpit because he's exhausted.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden he had his life vest on, and the life vests have an automatic, when water hits you, if you go in the water, it inflates. All of a sudden his life vest just pops.
The last thing you needed at that point in time.
Good night, Brad.
Now, how about beautiful sunsets out in the ocean?
Yeah, that's what you get, and whenever you have the sunset, I'm always intense to catch the last minute to see if I see the green flash.
Yeah.
And but one of the things that's spectacular is in the morning.
Yep.
One time I was sailing, and I was coming up with a cup of coffee to go into the helm, take over the helm, and all behind, just after sunrise, all of a sudden, tuna, 4 foot, 5 foot tuna, bluefin tuna, started jumping out of the water.
Yeah.
And to see the sun rising and hitting them on the side, and it was like a rainbow of colors on their scales, and beautiful.
Tiger shark.
Coming back, we were probably 60, 90 miles range out of Nantucket, and we were coming back. So I had a beer. I was having a beer on deck, and one of the kids was driving. Beautiful day, and I look on the side, and there's like a 10, 12 foot tiger shark, and he's just swimming along with us.
Yeah.
It was beautiful to see.
Good. And so you talked to me before the show about you had a line attached to your propeller, And so you decided, someone needed to go in there. You decided to dive over in shark-infested waters at that point in time, and then something else also happened. So tell me about that story.
So we're going along, and the wind's light. The seas aren't too heavy at all, but and my good friend was on the helm, and we're motor sailing. We got the motor. He says, Mac, he says, we wound something up on a prop. So this is offshore. It's probably an offshore lobster, long, deep lobster line.
Yeah.
So he says, we can't leave that there. We got to get it off. And so the sun is probably 2 inches above the horizon going down. So I said, oh, geez. He says, you got to go in. He says, I don't swim too well. You do. So I get a knife. Now you do have a seaway, so the boat's bobbing up and down in the seas. Not bad. The sails, we took the sails down, so we're not going along, so I don't get the boat sail away from me. So I dive down, and sure enough, we got a line around the. So I start cutting the line off, and don't you know, I cut my finger. So now, and the other thing too is I'm free diving, so I got to come back up, get some more air, breath, go back down. And
you're bleeding now.
I'm bleeding. I'm in shark-infested water. So finally, I did get it off. I come back, they come up and we put it in drive, and the boat's fine. It's going along. And then one of the kids on the delivery crew comes up, Jared, and he says, "What happened?" We told him, "Oh, I skin dive all the time. I could have done that easy."
A little late for that one, my friend.
A little late for that, yeah.
Well, Mac, we have 1 minute left in the show. So what are your words of wisdom for anyone wanting to get involved in sailing?
Don't be afraid of, and I say this to people, you're going to make mistakes. Just know that. No one starts and is perfect at the beginning. Go out, make the mistakes, and learn from the mistakes. And just enjoy yourself and push yourself to get better. You go out, cruising sail, and if you get a chance to get on a racing boat, you'll learn a lot. You'll learn about how to trim the sails to go faster, your points of sail, all this other stuff. But don't be afraid to make mistakes, and don't be afraid to go out. And then just enjoy it.
Very good. Well, Mac, thank you for sharing your insights and remarkable experiences into the sport of sailing, and specifically the Newport-Bermuda ocean races. Great job.
And I wanted to give you, this was the shirt we had on the 2004 Bermuda race. I wanted to make you and Dick.
Cool.
Honorary crew.
Butane. Right. Cool. All right. I'm Bill Mulholland for Good Sports. Good night.